defense minister, Gallant, we will eliminate everything. An IDF spokesperson, our focus is on damage, not on precision. Another former Knesset member, there is one and only solution, which is to completely destroy Gaza before invading it. I mean destruction, like what happened in Dresden and Hiroshima, without nuclear weapons. Would you join us in condemning that as well?
So I condemn nothing that the Israeli government is doing. I stand with the people of Israel.
Ted Cruz would not. That's one of your congressmen from the United States. I think he's from Texas. He would not. He said, I would not condemn anything that they do. They can do whatever they want, right? That's scary, because if that means that kind of thing he finds acceptable everywhere. Killing babies, little children, killing 7,000 children and babies. Ted Cruz said that's acceptable to him, not just in Israel, but everywhere, right? They can do whatever they want anywhere and everywhere in the world. You mean like Texas, or like Baltimore, or like New York City, or Los Angeles, or Colorado, or Kansas, right? They can, or Florida. They could do whatever they want to anybody, anywhere. This is a U.S. politician giving a green light to say, well, you know, Ted Cruz is a fucking. Let's just get to the point. Ted Cruz is a fucking Nazi, a card-carrying Nazi, right? Anytime he gives a green light to ethnic cleansing, killing babies, marching people out their house, snatching them out their houses naked, dragging them out and lining them up in the streets, and taking them to concentration camps without no judge, no jury, no evidence of a crime, right? And then probably dispatching them like dogs or animals, right? This is what U.S. politicians like Joe Biden and Ted Cruz. One is a Democrat, one's a Republican, but they both on the same page. They say Israel can do whatever they want to anybody they want, how they want, whenever they want, right? We have an unshakable, unbreakable bond. Oh, okay. So these people are fucking Nazis. That means they can. That means the U.S. That means if you find that acceptable there, then you find it acceptable where you live at as well. And who writes the laws and policies? Not them. The Israelis run the United States government. You see? That's a fact. Look at what happened to people like Dennis Kucinich, who went against them, right? They set up a redistricting and then destroyed his political career and ran his ass out of Congress. You see? I mean, so this is the Nazi, ingrained, Nazi force within the, United States. They've drug people up to Congress, the people from the colleges, because of the protests. Let's take a look at that. Stand by.
If it is directed and severe.
Clarity.
Check 1, 2. So, yeah. All right. So we see that they have drug in the heads of these colleges, right? And then they make up a story and say, oh, there are people calling for the genocide of Jews or whatever, while they're committing a genocide against Arabs in Palestine, right? Ethnic cleansing. They're lapdogs in Congress who they own outright. They drag in to suppress any type of dissent. There's too much dissent on the college campuses, too many protests. So they force them to bring in the heads of the college campuses to Congress about the protests, basically to force them to shut down protests, right? So they're trying to shut down protests on college campuses. Who has that kind of power, right? That's why I said, like, people don't understand who and what they're dealing with. When have you seen a group of people, mind you, this is a foreign country. You see, people are protesting against a foreign country. But the people they own the United States politicians. The whole political structure in the United States is owned by them, right? Pretty much. And so they were able to force. They called up the politicians and say, listen, you got to start cracking down on those protests. And they bring in the heads of the college campuses and say, listen, y'all got to shut down those protests, or I'm gonna have you fired. What happened to free speech? You see, no such thing. So they bring in these heads of these college campuses to let them know, right? Like, who the fuck made them? I mean, like, if I was a person in charge of a college campus and some senators called me, I'd be like, what the fuck do you want? I'm busy. I got a job. I'm working. I ain't breaking no law. I wouldn't even have probably went down there. I'd have been like, man, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck you mean come down here and talk to you about, anti-Semitism? I'm busy. I got shit to do. Right? But they go. They force them to come down there and offer their jobs. This is them people's jobs. You know what I mean? They force them off their job as head of these heads of colleges, right? Presidents of the college. And you got to come down there and answer to us, right? About people protesting. Like, you control the protest. You just work there. You know what I mean? Like, you the principal of his high school, whatever. You just work there. Who the fuck the mayor or the president or somebody call you to come down to City Hall or come down to Congress or somewhere and start talking about somebody was protesting on your campus? You be like, so? I can't control everything people do. You know what I mean? And tell you, well, if you don't shut down all the protesters, you're gonna be fired. What? That shit is crazy. Like, people that's some straight up Nazi shit. Where, who has that kind of juice, right? You can go to a school, a college, whatever, and if some of your students start protesting, you lose your job. You're like, I didn't tell them to protest. You might not even agree with the protest. We might say, well, they got freedom of speech. These people are protesting. Fuck it. They ain't breaking no windows or breaking no laws. What do I care? I gotta go home and fix dinner for my kids. I don't give a shit. I'm not at the protest. You know what I mean? As long as they don't break no windows and they ain't breaking the law, and they want to stand in a group on a campus with some signs and scream, who gives a shit, right? And then they bring out the people like Ted Cruz and these other people. And they say, oh, they calling for people to be killed and whatever. I haven't seen anything like that, right? I haven't seen nobody saying. And even if it was one crazy motherfucker, so what? You got crazy people say shit all the time. If you're the head of a college and it's like 50,000 people on the campus, and somebody run through the crowd and say some wild shit, and they get caught on camera, how are you responsible for that? Right? Why are you responsible for every single crazy motherfucker that, just wandering around or whatever? Like, you would never get anything done. So it's wild as shit that that's not really what's happening, right? But they drag people from their jobs down into Congress to tell them, basically, threaten them, basically, right? For the Israelis that they work for. That's really what's going on. You have the Israelis who own, right, the American political system, forced the politicians to go get the heads of the colleges and bring them in the D.C. and force them that basically to lean on them and like, yo, listen, if you don't stop these protests, we'll have you fired. That's some Nazi shit. That's the craziest shit I've ever heard. Right? Even if you don't agree with it or whatever. So, and if they can do that there, they can do it everywhere. You see? That's why, like, when I just showed the video of them marching these people down the street, I said, Ted Cruz don't give a fuck. Ted Cruz is the people that he just marched these heads of these colleges into Congress. He was behind that. You see? They marching people into Congress, telling them, listen, get your students in line or you're fired and we'll get somebody in there that'll get them in line. That's the same as your job. That's the same everywhere. You gotta stay in line or you'll get fired and we'll get somebody in here that's willing to go along with the Nazi, with the Nazi propaganda, right? But what comes after that? You see? See, that's the part you have to be aware of, right? What comes after that? What comes after all of this, pressure they putting on people? Fire people from their job. Can't fire everybody. Eventually, everybody's watching this kind of shit go on. You see? And eventually, it's going to come to a head. Stand by.
To rise, the U.S. is urging Israel to reduce civilian casualties. All of this following a breakdown in talks to release war hostages. CBS 2's Christian Benavides reports.
Scenes like this are playing out throughout Gaza. A group of children searching for their father, believed to be buried under rubble following an Israeli airstrike. The Hamas-run Ministry of Health says the death toll inside Gaza now surpasses 15,000 Palestinians. The Israeli army says it has renewed its assault after negotiations for the release of more hostages held by Hamas stalled.
Following Hamas's
Stop that right there, right? So, yeah, they killed 15,000 people, right? Probably like 7,000 children, babies, everything, right? Marching people down the street naked, dragged them out of their houses, right? I mean, collectively, this is some very, it's clear what's going on, right? A Nazi onslaught, right, moves across the planet, right, from Ukraine to, to Gaza, to Palestine, right? I think Vladimir Putin and them, they call Zelensky and them a bunch of Nazis, right, over in Ukraine. They say, oh, you can't say that because Zelensky's a Jew. Oh, really? Hold that thought, right? Because Nazi has nothing to do with religion. Jewish is a religion, right? Has nothing to do, it's a affiliation, political, social affiliation. Has nothing to do with religion. Jewish is a religion. So what do you mean he can't be a Nazi? What do you mean these people can't be Nazis? Says who? Says by what, metric? By the metric of stupid people who don't know the meaning of words, right? They definitely a bunch of fucking Nazis, no question, right? Remember World War II, the Russians fought the Nazis. They were the ones that beat the Nazis, and they lost 25 million of their own people. See, people they got short memories. They don't know history. You see? So, yeah, I said it on one of my previous videos. I said, this is going to be one of the most dangerous times in human history. And it is. You know what I mean? And it is. When you got pretty much, the Fourth Reich of Nazis basically running rampant across the planet, expanding their, power, right, and reach and influence. And now, they're cracking down. They even, basically they done took over the United States government, where the politicians in the United States are forced to do their bidding, right, and fight and work on getting the heads of schools fired. Everybody know what that's about. Everybody know who's behind that. Nobody, you could be the dumbest motherfucker on the planet. It's just the most brain dead, maybe you got a Christmas hat on, a Christmas sweater, skipping down the block, waiting for old Saint Nick. I don't know. you know, the goofiest dweeb on the planet. There's no fucking way you don't know, understand what's going on. That you can't look at this shit and make sense of it. It's not that complicated, right? That these people are a bunch of Nazis and they've taken over, right? The head of NASA was a car carrying Nazi. That's a dead giveaway. Werner von Braun, right? Werner von Braun, right? And now you see this shit, you don't understand the connection, right? Just like the Civil War, right? The second man in charge of the Confederacy in the Civil War was a Jewish man named Judah P. Benjamin. He was a Jew and a Nazi. The Confederates were clearly, I mean, the United States is a Nazi stronghold, but the Confederacy were clearly a bunch of Nazis by definition, right? If you're a racist plantation / business owner who also controls working with the government, that's the definition of Nazism. The Confederacy was a Nazi operation, right? And the second head of that was a Jewish man named Judah P. Benjamin. Go look it up. This is nothing new, right? It's only news to stupid people, right? And so they've always been in control of the U.S. government. From Werner von Braun to Judah P. Benjamin, and they've always been racist. They've always been involved with slavery and oppression. The fighting that you see amongst them is just civil war, right? The Civil War, you know, if you're black, that has nothing to do with you, or Arab, or Indian, or whatever. That's them fighting each other. That's white on white crime. So what? Big fucking whoop-de-doo. White people fighting and killing each other. Okay. Then they'll try to make it about you. Oh, we were trying to save black people in the Civil War. No, you weren't. Get the fuck out of here. Like they was a bunch of humanitarians, right? We were fighting to save, you know, black people. No, you weren't. That had nothing to do with you saving black people. That's shit you tell the dumb niggers, right? That's shit you tell the dumb niggers on your job to try to get them to like you or whatever. I don't know, to see how dumb they are, to test them to see, you know, how moist and stupid they are. Any Negro worth his salt that's ever read a book, no, that's not true. That ain't a straight up bitch. No, that's not true. Shit had nothing to do with helping black people. That was a white on white crime. That was a white on white crime spree. Black people just was. It's just like if you live on a farm and you got, you know, 150 cows and 200 horses and some ducks and chickens and you know, and it's you and, you know, 10 motherfuckers live on your farm, and then some marauders come or whatever, right? And they get to fighting to steal each other's shit, you know, to rob the farm or whatever, right? Fight break out, you know, with the motherfucker down the block. He coming, he want to steal the land or whatever, right? They didn't come to free the cows. It had nothing to do with the goddamn cows, right? They ain't come to free the chickens. We are here for the liberation of the chickens and the horses. Because them two motherfuckers fighting has nothing to do with the chickens and the horses. Matter of fact, when the fight's over, whoever win the fight gonna keep, you know, they split up or keep the chickens and the horses. And the chickens and the horses are food or, you know, whatever. They're gonna drive, you know, ride their ass or whatever, right? They just happen to be there. The chickens and the horses and shit is commodities and etc. that happen to be there. The fight wasn't to save, no, it wasn't like, this wasn't a fight to save the chickens and the horses and the cows and shit. It was just two groups fighting each other for whatever reason. So just like in the Civil War, they didn't come to save black people. They're like, yeah, we're saving the niggers. Okay, okie dokie, gotcha, right. So, I don't make this too long, but, you know, I'm just watching this shit go on, right? and this whole Nazi drama, and you just know you can see where this is going, right? You can see where it's going, right? Where they're trying to basically tighten their hold on the United States and over the citizens and over the people. I mean, look at the shit with Nick Cannon. You look at the shit with, Kyrie Irving, et cetera, et cetera. You're an anti-Semite. You're an anti-Semite. When you hear that shit, that is a Nazi. When you hear, listen, when you hear somebody screaming anti-Semite, that's a Nazi rally call. Let's be clear. Anytime you hear somebody start screaming, one of these white people start screaming anti-Semite, it's a Nazi rally cry. They're trying to rally the troops. That's all that is. You see? That's all it is. You're an anti-Semite. This is anti-Semitism. Somebody wants to kill the Jew. Woo, 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 woo. That's just a Nazi rally cry, right? That's all it is, right? They said Israel has a right to exist. Nobody has a right to exist on other people's property. You don't have the right to occupy people's shit, kill them, take their land, bomb them, bomb, 7,000 babies, walk people and then, kidnap people out of their houses, line them up in the street, butt naked, and march them into concentration camps. What? Right? And then if you say anything somewhere else, like you in America, oh, well, you got to lose your job, you need to get kicked out of college, right? You don't see where this is going? Like, that don't strike you as, like, extreme? These people don't strike you as, they talking about extremists, right? Hamas is extremists. Extreme, you know what's extreme? When motherfuckers take over your whole political apparatus and march the heads of your children's school into Congress and have them fired in front of everybody. That's extreme, right? That doesn't strike you as extreme? When they can get your president, who's and Joe Biden, yeah, I wanted to touch on that. People like Joe Biden, card-carrying Nazi ever since he was born, right? Supported the KKK, every goddamn Nazi organization, right? He's just card-carrying Nazi. Genocide, Jim Crow Joe, right? You wonder why people like him support these people? Look at his background. Why wouldn't he? Joe Biden go home and jerk off at night. He probably go home and jerk off the pictures of them bombing, so-called non-white people and marching them out their houses, naked and tying them up and marching them into concentration camps. That's the shit he was trying to do to black people in the United States. He probably cried. A tear probably came into his eye when he saw that. He probably was yearning for the days of Jim Crow again when he saw them marching them people out in the street naked, tied up, like they do black people in the United States. Back in the 60s and 50s and 40s, whatever, right? Joe Biden probably, that's his wet dream. You see? Of course these people, they anti-black racists. So of course they support, apartheid and Nazism and shit like that. Why wouldn't they? That's all goes hand in hand. And they keep screaming, democracy, freedom, justice, democracy, freedom, justice. What the fuck what does any of that have to do with freedom and democracy and justice? What does killing 5,000, 7,000 kids and babies and marching people down the street naked out of their houses and tying them up in groups in the middle of the street, what does that have to do with democracy and freedom? And justice, right? And human rights or whatever it is they claim that they're about. Nothing, it's all fake. You see? And you have to look at that and think, well, when they finish with them, am I next? Because this shit is all fake. You realize They control the political structure. They control. I mean, they're giving them weapons, money, everything. They letting them giving them the green light to do whatever they want all over the planet, from Israel to Washington D.C. You gotta bow down and kiss the ring, right? Or get hit in the face with a bunker buster bomb. The shit gonna lead to World War III. You see? It's gonna lead to World War III and then to World War IV, which is, in the book of Revelations and in the book of Joel, right? And in the book of Daniel. And in the book of Ezra, the most holy prophet in the Bible. Right? Because I mean, just my assessment. Right? I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna wrap. But I don't see how they try to implement the Fourth Reich across the world without just setting this shit off. Just like the Third Reich set it off, right? And it's the same players involved. You can see, I mean, I'm just saying, Russia, right? But this time it's a little bit different. You got the Russians, the Chinese, right? You got the whole Arab coalition, the African coalition, South America, shit like that, right? BRICS. People got a lot of nukes. Different shit. You got, you know what I mean? The communication shit is different. And so, I don't see, like, I mean, they're trying to implement this whole Nazi agenda. And it's going to set off one hell of a chain reaction. You know? I don't think, I think, because they're going to become more and more extreme, as you can see. When they can't get what they want, they're going to become more and more extreme. When people fight them, they become more and more extreme. Right? Just like in the United States, where they're trying to get people fired, the heads of the colleges, and, everywhere. They're trying to, suppress everything on the media and in colleges and on jobs. Right? They got some shit in Texas where you had to sign a loyalty oath to the Israelis. You do know that's a foreign government, right? Isn't that treason? To sign an oath to a foreign government? But they got that shit. Straight up Nazi shit. You have to sign an oath to a foreign government. I would never sign an oath to a foreign government. I wouldn't sign an oath to no motherfucking body. But Jesus Christ himself, in the ancient of days, I would never sign an oath to no fucking people that run an apartheid state. A bunch of Zio Nazis. Are you crazy? Like, what? When I saw that shit, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta sign an oath to these people. Right? Isn't that in the Bible? The mark of the beast? Right? It was a lady, she refused to sign an oath, she got fired from her job. Right? It doesn't in the Bible, it say if you don't take the mark, then you can't work or eat or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, this is, you can see where it's going. Right? I'm gonna wrap this, but like this shit, like I said before, we're moving into very, very, very dangerous time in history. Because I don't really think people, I think even the sheeplest of the sheeple are gonna wake up, right, and push back. I don't think, you know what I mean? I don't think people are gonna roll over. Because they can't pay everybody off and they can't apply that much pressure. You see? That's the thing. Like, they can apply pressure to Congress and buy them off and stuff like that, right? And threaten them and blackmail them and shit like that. But people, they don't have enough pressure, I think, to trickle down at this point in the game and force everybody to go along. You see? Like, if they keep forcing it and becoming more and more and more extreme as they are, people just gonna push back. You see, like if they fire all of the heads of the colleges, it's gonna get worse on them college campuses, not better. You see, because people gonna see that and then they gonna push back on them campuses. You know what I mean? So everything they do is gonna kind of make it worse. Like if they genocide the Gazans, that's just the shit they doing. It's just making it worse. You're just pissing off the Lebanese, the Iranians. You know what I mean? This ain't 1970. Iran has like 150,000 ICBMs, hypersonic ICBMs, and the number one drone program in that area, the number two in the world behind the United States. Right, from a back-engineered American drone. So times have changed. You see, people, they pushing back against them. And so, yeah, I mean, they're going to become more extreme. And the more extreme they become, the worse it's going to get. You know, on the college campuses. Even, you know, everywhere. Like, and I wasn't going, well, I'll say this and I'm going to try to thread the needle when I say this. So I won't get a strike on the channel. But if you look at what they're doing now, what do you think they were doing? Let me just put it like this. If you look at what they're doing now, what they have been doing since, like, let's say 1948, right? What do you think they were doing? You know, before, let's say before you heard of the Holocaust. Let me just, you know, thread the needle. You know, it's something to think about, right? What were they doing before the Holocaust? Because I'm just looking at the shit that they doing to people right now, like what they doing in Gaza, what they doing in America, to the, you know, to the buying, you know, the buying off of the political structure, you know, the blackmail, different things. I don't know if people know a little bit of black history for you. There was the first black diplomat that went over there to the Middle East was a guy named Ralph Bunche. The Israelis put a hit on him and tried to kill him. And he had to flee the state of Israel. He was over there doing negotiations back in like 1950, I think. But I'm just saying, like, if you know, you watch all the shit that they doing, and you know, they say, oh, the Holocaust happened. These poor people, right? And I'm just saying, like, they don't tell you about how these people tried to kill Ralph Bunche, assassinated, you know, tried to assassinate Ralph Bunche. You know, like different shit that was happening. And you wonder, like, you know, like, do people really understand a lot of times the shit that people be into? You know what I mean? Like, you see the, how can I put this? You see one aspect of it, but you don't see the other, right? So you just they say, oh, you know, the Germans just, you know, went crazy on these people for no reason. Oh, really? No reason? Yeah, the Germans, fucking Nazis, the German Nazis went crazy on the Zio Nazi for no reason. You sure? Sure it wasn't no reason? I mean, I'm not saying it was justified. I'm just saying, like, you know, it wasn't no, you know, shit going on between those groups. Just like in the Civil War, right? There was static between the two groups or whatever. So you saying it wasn't no static? I mean, because you look at like what people are doing now, but like how you know, bribing the politicians, you know, and then harassing people and getting them fired from their jobs, different shit, right? And you say, well, you know, you know, like the old saying, you fuck around and find out. You know what I mean? Like every action has a reaction. And that's real. Like people say, well, I don't believe in karma. There's no such thing. All right, but do you believe in every action has a reaction? Do you believe in that? I mean, because you gotta believe in that. If you say I don't believe in karma, all right, fine. But you do believe in like every action has a reaction, right? Like if you punch somebody in their face, you may get fucked up. That person may not just drop. He may absorb the punch and then punch you back twice and then knock your ass out. You know what I'm saying? Like every action has a reaction. Things happen for a reason, you know. And are you able to connect the dots, right? The underlying reason why these reactions, these actions and reactions are happening. You feel me? Like one thing about these devils, right? They'll try to act like everything happens in a vacuum. They say, "Oh, Hamas, these terrorists just went crazy for no reason. We was just chilling, having a party. We was partying in Israel and giving out free health care and reparations to the Arabs, and they was living in a utopia, and all this shit, right? I don't know why these people just went crazy on us for no reason. And they'll act like nothing nothing ever happened before. So there was nothing happened that could cause this? No, no, nothing. I don't even know. We was just living in utopia, and we just loving on everybody and giving out reparations to Arabs and Ethiopian Jews, and I mean, we're giving out free health care and free food and housing and beachfront property and farms, and I mean, it's just utopia. And then all of a sudden, these dirty Hamas people just started doing terrorism. You're like, oh really? Yeah, yeah, that's what happened. And nothing else happened. Nothing been going on. No, no, just freedom and justice and democracy, and just you know a utopia. I mean, this is the way these people talk to you. They don't There's no act. Every action has a reaction. There's no karma. There's no historical context. There's no nothing. It's just you wrong and I'm right, and that's just the end of the story, right? So anyway, man, I'm gonna wrap this, but there's got to be an end game. You see, there's got there's just got to be an end game, and I think the writing's on the wall, one way or another, right? It's like the forces of good and evil. Either the forces of good win or the forces of evil win. The question is, what side are you gonna wind up on in history? Where will you be, right? When it all, goes down. Where will you be, and what side of history, and where will you be when it goes down? Right? Because you can pump all that shit you want, but goddamn well, this ain't no utopia. This ain't no freedom, justice, democracy, utopia, blah blah blah, all that crap. Propaganda, Nazi propaganda that they spew. I don't care how fucking brain dead of a sheeple that you are. That motherfucker is. You know? So the question is, at some point there's gonna be an end game. And it's not gonna be pretty. You know what I mean? There's no way to put lipstick on a pig and dress that shit up. My bet is like it's gonna come to a head probably in 2024. Maybe sooner. But it's gonna have to come to a head. Because I don't know if the world can take too much more. You see? The world can take too much more.